Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be comparing the Lexus GX to the Lexus LX. Now, I picked out a GX that has the new EKDSS system to compare to an LX that has the active height control, so we can see which suspension system performs better overall. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Lexus here in Murray for giving me some time with both these vehicles. Both these are available for sale. I'll include a link to their website in the description down below. Also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Powering the LX is a twin-turbo 3.4-liter V6 that goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. It puts out 409 horsepower and then 479 pound-feet of torque. With fuel economy, you can expect to get higher teens. Now, the GX also has a twin-turbo 3.4-liter V6 that goes through a 10-speed. However, it puts out a lot less power, 349 horsepower. Still the same torque, though, 479 pound-feet. It's got smaller turbos. Before I move forward with this comparison, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Now, you probably noticed that the height on the vehicles looks very similar, and that's because the LX is actually in its H2 setting, so this is at the top of the ride height. The LX actually normally sits quite a bit lower, and the reason I did that is to show that the GX actually sits pretty darn high. Again, it has fixed suspension, so it doesn't raise or lower like the LX, but just gives you an idea with that. And notice with both of them, the hood is raised there on the sides, but notice the LX is a bit more curvy, I guess is the best way for me to put it. And look at the difference with the lights and the grille between both of them. The GX definitely has kind of like a smaller look on everything. But yeah, what you'll notice with, like, you can see the roof lines, the windshields, and all of that is the LX is kind of more rounded off compared to the GX, which is boxier. Now, there's a bunch of different tire and wheel options for both vehicles, and they can both pretty much fit the same size of setup. So like this GX is an overtrail, so it has 33-inch tall tires. You can get an LX overtrail for the 2025 model year, and that also has 33-inch tall tires from the factory. Another noticeable difference is, look at the width of the fenders and the fender flares versus the GX. It kind of comes out quite a bit more aggressively, and also just the material use difference. You can tell that the LX just has nicer quality use of materials, and then you can see with the mirrors here on the LX traditional versus the boxy mirrors there on the GX. They both actually have fixed side steps, funny enough, but here in the back really shows you the difference with the width of the vehicles. The GX has all of its extra width from fender and fender flare, whereas the LX, it actually is the whole body, and so what that means is the LX has more interior space. Now, here's the side profile with the LX. And then here's the side profile with the GX. Now, taking a look at the cargo area with the GX, it is absolutely massive. You can get a third row with the GX. It's one of those vehicles, though, with the third row, you don't have storage space behind it, so you either have the seats up or you have storage. Anyways, we've got outlets. You can see the little card cover. And by the way, with the overtrail version of the GX, you cannot get a third row here in the US market. You've got to get different packages. But yeah, this is fully power. And then looking at the LX, something I'm noticing is it's actually just higher up with the load floor compared to the GX. It looks like it's got a similar amount of space overall, but just a higher load floor. You got the controls for the second and third row with the raising and lowering. With the third row, second row, you can only lower it. But yeah, these come with third rows as standard. You can delete them though if you want. And just like the GX, if you have the third row up, you pretty much have no storage behind the third row. And then we'll press this, and that will close it. Finishing things up with the rear of both the vehicles, this is where you can really see the width difference. Again, the GX has all that extra width down below, whereas the LX, it goes all the way up, and that's why you just have more interior space overall. But again, the GX boxy, but the LX, I will say, from the rear end actually looks just as boxy, and I think I like the taillights on the LX a little bit better. But yeah, there's the rear. Now, this is where we get a massive difference, and it first off starts with stuff like the door handle. With the GX, it feels nice, but we'll compare that to the LX in just a moment. So you can see here, it's just hard touch at the top. We do have sunshades here for the rear passengers. Nice materials throughout. We'll compare it to the LX. Great fit and finish. You can see the trim here down these seats, and this has the cool green you can get on the GX. Legroom back here is good. We've got our own vents here in the rear. We've got heated seats, USBs, all of that. And then we'll compare headroom. But headroom's pretty good back here. Now, popping over the LX, the first thing you notice is just pulling the door handle, it feels more substantial, just feels more premium, less plasticky. The GX isn't super plasticky, but still. Sunshade, it's actually hard touch. Well, it's actually no soft touch here, so that's a big difference. The trim down below feels a little bit more sumptuous, I would say. And then with the seat, of course, I got done like that. Anyways, you can see nice trim. Again, just more premium leather trim used. And then we also have heated and ventilated seats in the back. We had our own climate zone as well. And in terms of the legroom, it's actually pretty similar overall. And then the headroom as well. Even though this is less boxy, it still has great headroom. Now this leads us to the front of the GX. Again, you can see with all of the nice trim pieces throughout all of our window controls. The mirrors do power fold in. You've got blind spot monitoring with the mirrors. If you're wondering the weight difference, so the GX, by the way, has 1545 for the payload capacity. And it weighs about, so let's see, 7165, 1545, 5,700 pounds almost. Somewhere around there, roughly. But yeah, really cool front seats there. And then quickly popping in power adjustable steering wheel, by the way. Got a full digital gauge cluster. Let's actually see the door if it sounds different. But the steering wheel is really nice. Of course, you got the Lexus logo front and center. Paddle shifters there on the back of the steering wheel. And then this also comes with a heads-up display. We've got this excellent 360 camera system. You've got the little climate controls down below, heated and ventilated seats. And this, of course, comes with all the off-road stuff. So, multi-terrain select. We've got crawl control. We've got... down here, center locker, you've got a rear locker, 2-speed transfer case, and then you can see with the storage here, cool box there in the center, nice trim on the top. We've got our phone charging pad as well, rear view mirror, and then just a regular headliner. You can see center with this one. This one's an Overtrail Plus, so this is going to sticker for, I think nowadays like mid-80s roughly for the MSRP pricing. Now popping over to the LX, again, just more premium materials used throughout, so everything just feels a little bit more high quality. You can see the mirrors, they power fold in, they've got blind spot monitoring. Now this has less payload, 1285, and then your gross vehicle weight rating is 7230, so this weighs a little bit more. This weighs about 5,900 pounds, roughly. So not that much more, but a little bit more. It's a really nice trim with the seats, power adjustable steering wheel. This is nice, too. Getting in, I gotta step up a bit with that ride control in the higher setting, but pop her on. So you notice the gauge cluster in this, less digital. Now this one is a 2020, sorry, that beeping's really loud. I think this one's a 23 if I remember right, just so you guys understand on that. But you got the heads-up display, and then you guys can see here with the 360 camera. So like that's all this, like the infotainment system up top, obviously different looking unit, but functionality is the same as the GX. Now the LX does have this secondary screen down below. Still have dual zone climate, still have multi-terrain select, still have crawl control, still have heated and ventilated seats, 2-speed transfer case. Now this version of the LX only has a center locking diff. The new Overtrail version, which would technically compete against that in terms of package to package, is also going to come with a front and rear locking diff. The buttons are actually here on the dash for that version. You got the center console here, and the LX comes with a cool trick center console. Squeaks a little bit on this one. We've got some wood trim there, and again, just nice trim all across the interior. Definitely a lot more premium feeling. Regular rearview mirror, I can't talk. More premium headliner. We've got a sunroof up top. Now the pricing on this one doesn't really matter as much as the pricing on a new LX. So a new LX Overtrail is like $115,000. So 85 grand for an Overtrail Plus versus an LX Overtrail, which is going to compete against that, you know, in terms of what that's all about. And that's 115, so big price difference. Now with that being said, let's take them out and see which one performs the best. Well, let us set off in the GX first, and then we'll do the LX second. I think this will be a good way to go about it. We'll see if I feel like I've upgraded by going over to the LX. And again, I understand this isn't a perfect comparison. It'd be better if we had the new LX Overtrail, but those won't be at dealerships for a minute. And, you know, I really wanted to see the EKDSS versus the active height control, because I mean, let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you cannot get EKDSS on the LX. I think that the LX, if you want the fancy suspension, you go for the active height control. On the GX, if you want the fancy suspension, you go for the EKDSS. So it'll just be interesting to see how the systems differ from each other. Now I will say the EKDSS is a really nice system. What it basically does is it makes it so that the vehicle on road handles sharper. I currently own a 250 Land Cruiser that doesn't have, it's basically the same car as this, but 4-cylinder and doesn't have EKDSS. And what I feel with that system is it feels very truck-like. This, I still feel like I'm in a truck, right? It's still body on frame, still solid rear axle, just like the LX, but it definitely has a car-like handling to it. It's really nice. Like around here, for example, it handles pretty darn flat for what this is at the end of the day. It's quite nice, if you ask me. Aside from that, the low-end torque is great with this GX as well, so that's a big plus. And the overall ride quality is just nice. Like when you go over bumps and everything, I mean, it's not like it's non-existent, but it does a pretty good job. Like this feels, I feel like as close as you can get to like a truck feeling like a unibody independent suspension vehicle in terms of the handling and in terms of the ride quality and everything. Man, it is toasty with that. We're gonna go over the train tracks here. See how this performs. Not bad. Again, it still has got some body roll, but it's not bad. I'm interested to see the engine difference. Again, I did pick out this comparison the way that I did because the LX is not the hybrid version, so that we can see if there's actually a perceived acceleration difference between the big turbo and the small turbo 3.4. But overall, I mean, this drives well. Again, it still feels like a truck, so it still does the chassis shudder. It's not bad. It's pretty much as good as you're gonna get for a truck, right? In terms of handling, I would say, and then in terms of shudder, right? It's pretty darn minimal. Man, that person's turning so slow. Oh, that's a big dip. Never mind. I'll be more charitable next time. Sorry, guys. But yeah, the low-end torque on this is great. It drives really well. And so, yeah, let's go jump into the LX and see if I feel like I'm upgrading by, I mean, if you look at LX to GX packaging, I mean, it's pretty much across the board on average like a price premium of, what, $30,000 most of the time? Yeah, $30,000 is pretty accurate. $40,000 in some cases, but about 30 grand. Let's see if it feels like 30 grand more car. Lexus LX, and I will lower down the ride height. Actually, we're gonna go around the other way. I could fit through there, but I don't want to risk it. Not my fancy Lexus. I do want to see kind of how this suspension feels over bumps, though, at the top. It's supposed to still feel comfortable, even at the top with the active height control. And I'd say it does. This is one thing that I do like about this system over air suspension. Air suspension is really nice, but it feels like you're on tiptoes when you're at the top of the bags. I had a Defender, and I actually had a Rebel with air suspension too, so I'm very familiar. Yeah, this is a lot more comfy. So we're gonna put it back down into neutral height, which is what you're gonna drive it around. Now, I do see a benefit with this actually sitting lower than the GX in its street going setting, and that comes down to handling. We'll see if it does in fact handle better, but I think it could. Now, in terms of the engine, they both have the same torque, and this weighs more. So, in terms of what you feel from the seat of your pants, it feels pretty similar. I feel like I might actually be getting into this one a little bit deeper into the throttle than the GX, interestingly enough. Oh, it's still in high 1. Like, why is this? So we can go even lower. I thought if I pressed it twice, it would go down 2 times, but I guess it doesn't work that way. Lexus, do things the Ben Hardy way. Press it twice, goes down two settings. That's what air suspension systems typically do. This feels bigger right off the bat. Like it going around a corner, it's not bad, but Like, it doesn't wallow or anything, but it just feels like a more substantial vehicle. And surprisingly, now understand I am on bigger wheels, but still, it doesn't feel any more comfortable. It actually might be even a little bit less comfortable than the EKDSS system. Let's turn this off. That is not what I expected. It's not bad. We'll see over the train tracks. Train tracks in the LX. Yeah, not bad at all. It really doesn't feel any quicker. So I'm sure the hybrid will make a substantial difference. But yeah, that GX just developed so much torque on the low end. Now I will say, this having more horsepower, obviously highway passing power is going to be stronger. I'm just kind of going over some of these to... I guess it has a little bit less body on frame shutter compared to the GX, but it still feels truck-like. And it doesn't seem like the noise insulation's really better like I would think it would be. It's got pretty thick glass, but... Huh. Tough choice. So, which one should you go for? I think if we look at this objectively, when it comes to exterior styling, you're probably gonna... I think that both of them look good. I don't think that one necessarily looks that much better than the other. When it comes to the interior, the LX definitely... I mean, I don't like this double screen setup, but it overall feels more premium in here by a pretty large margin. So the LX definitely wins on that. And just random things like the door handle. Like when you open up the door handle, the LX just feels like a more premium product compared to the GX. And then when it comes to the drive, I don't know if the LX really drives. It feels like a more substantial vehicle. Again, it feels more spacious in here. So like that kind of makes the driving experience, I guess, better, because I just feel more comfortable in that sense. But I don't know if this is actually any better than the GX when it comes to the overall experience. So if you want more space, the LX has more space. If you want premium materials, and then obviously long term, the LX is going to hold up better than the GX because they just build these better, right? This is a Land Cruiser, so you've got that. But yeah, I mean, over the short term, I think I'd go with the GX, because it's so much money. I mean, literally, for that $30,000 you save, you could put bigger tires on the GX. I think you can fit like 34s in those stock. You could do bumpers, front and rear. You could add a winch. They come with the roof rack from the factory, so that's not too much. But you could add a bunch of stuff, make that like a crazy like utility vehicle that you can daily drive, and you still would be significantly less than the entry cost of a GX, or sorry, LX Overtrail. So let me know your thoughts.